My name is Elaine Conroy. I'm one of the tour guides here at Rathcroghan Visitor Centre, and today I'm going to be talking to you about one of Rathcroghan's significant sites, the cave of Oweynagat and the Cave of the Cats. The cave is situated about 800 metres from Rathcroghan Mount. The Rathcroghan landscape here is associated with being Connacht's royal site. It is a site of inauguration, a site of royal burial, a site of gathering and a site of ritual, but it's also said to be the site of an entrance point to the other world, one of 3 in Ireland. Samuel Ferguson's sketch plan of the site from 1864 depicts the entrance situated within a circular enclosure. The enclosure is no more, however there are elements of archaeology remaining at this point, and certainly a wealth of mythology. But geology is really our starting point here. So geologically, the mid-Roscommon landscape is a glacial landscape. It's predominantly, the bedrock of it is limestone. Limestone by its nature is soluble and therefore gives rise to karst features such as fissures and caves. Here in the Rathcroghan landscape, it has developed into a linear rift cave. The natural limestone cave is accessed via a man-made passage of dry stone walling, and this is known as a souterrain. This measures about 10 metres in length. And so as you enter the souterrain, you meet a junction just 2.5 metres inwards, and above your head you'll find a lentil. And this particular lentil is important because it bears the Ogham inscription that translates as Freach, son of Maeve. If the Maeve character mentioned here is indeed the great Queen Maeve of Connacht that's mentioned in An Tambo Cuilinne, then this would be one of the earliest written reference to Maeve herself. So to the right of the junction there is also Ogham inscription on another lentil. Unfortunately the passageway has collapsed and there's not enough of it visible for us to actually translate that part of Ogham writing. To the left of the junction, as we head downwards in a northwest direction for about 8 metres, we notice that there are lentils resting on the natural bedding planes along the natural fissures. So there is thought to have been a door separating the natural cave from this man-made passageway. As we enter into the main part of the cave itself, the cave is constructed from Carboniferous limestone that would have been laid down about 350 million years ago. So this actually has very small tiny stalactites. If you look closely enough you'll notice them, and the calcite continues to grow onto the wall itself. The natural part of the cave measures 37 metres in length, and then an incline begins which is quite steep, and then the cave just literally peters off, and so in total the natural cavern is 50 metres in length. And so that is the geological aspect, but of course there's so much mythology that's actually associated with the cave itself. When we turn off the lights, you're in pure darkness, your eyesight does not adjust, it is pure stillness, it's pure soundlessness, there's not really too much of a scent in the air, so that's your 3 senses that are sort of temporarily missing. And so you can understand why so much mythology then has actually evolved about this particular site. So the cave is said to be an access point to the Otherworld. It's described by the Christian monks of the 12th century as being the entrance to hell, or the gateway to hell. I personally think it's an unfair description. This is not to be mistaken as the underworld, as a place of fire and brimstone. This is a place abundant in symbols of fertility and divine retribution. It is a plentiful and delightful world. It is said to be the abode of the Tuatha De Danann, the She, and therefore death or evil is not necessary to pass back and forth. We see this in the stories of literature where reference the story of Nera. He's one of our Connacht heroes, and he witnesses the death of Queen Maeve on Samhain evening. He passes into the otherworld to try and avenge her death. However, he realises that what he has seen was actually a prophecy, and returns to the mortal realm to warn Queen Maeve, who then is able to arm herself, and indeed she follows these otherworldly soldiers into the otherworld and brings back with her the crown of the O'Brien. Samhain has a huge association with the cave here. This is said to be the origin of our celebration of the Festival of Halloween. And it is said that on the eve of Samhain that the veils between this world and our own actually thin, and therefore allow demonic creatures to escape from the other world that cause havoc on the landscape here. monsters, for example, that have 3 heads and ravage the grasslands, and birds with breath so vile that the leaves on the trees actually wither. So for that reason, on Halloween night, you should always dress up as something demonic. So therefore, you're mistaken as a demon and not dragged back down into the other world. Okay, so I brought you down to another aspect of our exhibition, and that's our Le Brocquet prints. Now, Louis Le Brocquet would have depicted the scenes of Thomas Kinsella's translation of Anton Beauclerk in his 1969 publication. Le Brocquet would have produced 133 images in black pen and ink drawing, and this particular one behind me represents the Morrigan. Now, the Morrigan is another entity associated with the cave of Oweynagat. The cave is said to be her fit abode. She's also a shapeshifter, that's why she's seen here as a crow, or the hooded crow. She appears during the course of the Táin to actually tempt Cuchulainn. He politely, I'm sure, declines her advances. However, she's not too impressed with this, so she returns to him in several guises: an eel, a heifer and a wolf. But of course, Cuchulainn is still successful in this case, and she returns to the cave to be healed. She also takes the form, as I mentioned, of the hooded crow, and she lands on Cuchulainn's shoulder at one point, signifying his death, as she has done to so many others. She's also associated as being the washer at the ford, so she's washing the bloodstained instruments of battle. It is said that young boys, in order to prove their manhood, go and face the Morrigan in the cave itself. So we've come out the road to the actual site itself, to the entrance of Oweynagat and the site of entry to the Otherworld. It's a little unassuming, but it's quite intriguing nonetheless. So just in regard to the actual name of the cave, how it came to be, Oweynagat translates to Cave of the Cats, and this is in relation to a Remscéla in association with the Ulster warriors, really. So there's a character by the name of Bricrunan Tangahi of the Wicked Tongue, who hosts a great feast up in the Ulster royal site, and he invites all the warriors there. So he's a troublemaker by nature, and he of course incites a bit of competition between 3 particular Ulster warriors: Cuchulainn, Lyra and Conall Cernach. So basically he has them each wanting to gain this hero's portion. They each think they're the right one to claim this portion. So an almighty argument breaks out, of course, as they do, and they're sent down here to Maeve to actually decide who is actually worthy of this portion. So Maeve calls forth 3 ferocious cats from the cave here behind me, and she places them into a room with our heroes. And basically the idea is who's ever able to tame these cats is most worthy of that hero's portion. And of course it's the hound Cuchulainn that actually manages to do so. So he toddles back to Navanport, quite delighted with himself, to a cold hero's portion, but he's won nonetheless. Okay, so we're going to enter now into the cave itself. Wish me luck. Okay, so we've come into the cave itself, and we're about 7 metres underground over the boring we just walked in through. And we'd always recommend that you bring a guide from Rathcroghan Visitor Centre to take you into the cave, just for health and safety reasons. But there's actually a guide in association with mythology also, and that's Manannán Mac Lir. And he actually gives his name to one of our other features here in the landscape, and that's Cashel Manannán. So Cashel, of course, being stone built, it's a tridalite cashel. Manannán Mac Lir, though, also has another job here at Rathcroghan, Of course, as a sea god, there's not much sea around, so he here in Rathcroghan he acts as a psychopomp. So a psychopomp is somebody that guides you through the other world.